Every month there is a ton of iOS and Android games that come out, and GameRanks does its best to sift through them for you. Today, GameRanks brings you the 10 best new iOS and Android games of September 2016. A quick note for new GameRanks people, we split this in two videos. This is the new games. This includes paid games. The version that is exclusively free games will come out in a few days. Number 10 is Bus Simulator, which, by the way, is not a joke. A lot of the time, the simulator games that are things that are not, exotic in any way are some kind of a joke, but this is not. It's actually a very good version of what you would expect from a non-ironic, serious simulation of driving around public transport that takes lots of people to their jobs. There's night driving, weather, 50 different bus routes to master, actually pretty realistic AI, and very detailed maps, as well as 8 buses to unlock. And there's a lot of jokes I could make about this game, but I'm not going to because it's actually a really good game. My only complaint is that the buttons are really small. That's it. Number 9, Lumines Puzzle and Music, which brings the PSP Classic to your phone and really does a great job of combining a somewhat Tetris-like puzzle game with musical elements. I'm personally a fan of this game. I used to play it a lot on PSP, and it is actually a puzzle game that you can get really sucked into. When I say it's a lot like Tetris, I mean that. It's obviously a slightly different concept, as it drops squares with varying patterns as opposed to different shapes. It also incorporates rhythm with the game, and in my opinion, especially for old school puzzle people who want a slightly updated experience, this is it. Also, you can record Let's Plays really easily with it if you want to, that include your phone's camera. So if you want a really easy game to put videos up playing, here's one for you. Number 8 is Final Cut Fame Fatale, which is the story of you as a private eye trying to dig up some skeletons in an actress's closet for a rival actress. It essentially boils down to a hidden object game, but it has a mystery element that makes it a little bit more intriguing. In fact, I would say that this game is indicative of the genre evolving a bit, as the recent games in this genre have been a little bit more narrative-oriented, and frankly, it's a welcome addition. It's a rather interesting collection of various puzzles and mini-games that all leads towards an actually interesting mystery. The caveat, however, if you're not a big fan of this type of game, don't touch it because it's not going to change your mind on it. Other than that, good stuff. Number 7, Dog Sled Saga is pretty much the closest thing that we have to a mobile dog sled simulator with pixel graphics. And believe me, pixel art does this game justice because the people who made the pixel art are the type that are like, you know what, this needs to be amazing or it's not worth doing. The art is phenomenal in this game, and they've actually created a mechanic that makes dog sled racing work, too. It's based on the dog's hunger, and you essentially keep them fed instead of, whipping them, because it's 2016 and people seem to have figured out what's wrong with whipping dogs. It's a pretty detailed game. It brings a lot to different angles of the experience. It's not just a racing game, obviously. It's team management, you have employees, you upgrade the dogs, and really an actually interesting take on something that not really a lot of games are made about. Number 6 is Atomic Superlander, which does basically what I would expect from the name. It takes the lander concept a little bit further. There's some platforming elements that I really like the integration of. There's not what I would call a ridiculous amount of content or anything. It's not super long, the experience is a little bit limited, but beyond that, the gameplay itself is really good. If you're one of those people who can play a game despite maybe running out of specific goals to do, if you can just play a game for enjoying it, this is exactly that type of game that you want to get. You can unlock all the ships and still have a lot to do, but not really get anything for it. So if you're into gaming for the sake of gaming and need something that has a fair variety of gameplay, I'd maybe say $2.99 for Atomic Superlander. It's gonna be worth it. Number 5, Ember is an homage to the old classic 90s role-playing games. It's an isometric, linear but branching storyline-based party real-time combat system with a lot of very in-depth options, such as a crafting system, which is something that you really wouldn't have seen a whole lot of in the 90s. So it does bring some new things to the table, but it really feels like the classic type of game that you would expect it to if you wanted it to be good. This is one of those games where it's literally the perfect case for a handcrafted game compared to, say, a procedurally generated game. You get stuff from the level design that you just wouldn't otherwise, and it really rounds out the experience. The only complaint on this one, just don't play this one with a small phone, because it really, really gets tough to take care of. And I would even say it's probably better for you to go for the iPad version if you have an iPad. Sincerely, a great game though. Number 4 is NBA 2K17, which the 2K franchise, let's just go ahead and say, is such a great franchise. As far as basketball games go, I can't really think of one that I consider better than the 2K games, and this is such a great mobile adaptation for it. It really plays a lot like the full console titles, except for with one slight caveat, and that is, believe it or not, it feels a little bit more like an old school console version of it due to the camera angles that we get. They continue to make the My Career and My Player modes even better, and it seems like these games somehow manage to be better every single iteration. The graphics also, seriously, like you're not going to get better than this on iPhone or Android, as far as basketball anyhow. Number 3, Samurai of Hyuga Book 2, which is the second in the series that's part historical fiction, part choose your own adventure. Now this is a text-only title. There's some art, but it's not really a lot. I mean, really not a lot. So if you can't handle just text, I would say steer clear of this, but the writing is very good. Fans of interactive fiction books will definitely appreciate this, as it's a lot better than book 1. Also, there's plenty of setup for a third one, which is very good. Number 2 is Vulture Island, which is a platform game that's just filled with variety, on account it's about a few friends taking a flying machine around the world. It really comes off as not a typical game. There's a lot of depth, there's a lot of exploration elements, and although it's not a full open world game, it does have the feeling of being very open-ended. Plus, it has really lush, wonderful graphics with a great color palette. It's really, as far as platformers go, probably the best in a couple months. And finally, number 1 is Sorcery 4, which there's been a while since Sorcery 3, and there really needed to be more of this, because frankly, these games are very good. The game places you in a hand-drawn 3D world and asks you to create your own story. It is an open-world narrative that places you up against a large amount of various foes and adapts its story around everything you do. It's essentially the kind of game book that somebody might want to play who doesn't like a text-only game book, because it does play more like a game rather than a choose-your-own-adventure, but it gives you a very unique place to slot yourself into in what feels like an already very living world. What games did you enjoy for iOS and Android this month? Leave your comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week, and the best way to see them first is a subscription. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanks.